My first question is that, collaboration between business institutions and communities is key for sustainable progress. How does your organization currently engage with communities or other businesses to drive sustainability?
Hi, thank you for having me here. So to address how the business, as from Featherlight, works with the other businesses to drive sustainability or to have sustainability as a primary goal. Let me take any one part of the system. For example, let me take the supply chain systems. We have a sourcing, and then we have to deliver it to the client as well, to the end users. Right from the sourcing, we partner with the different vendors and firms where the product that is sourced are ethical and sustainable. We primarily manufacture furniture. A lot of the component is a wooden component of it. So which means a fast renewable wooden sourcing is required. That is also one of the primary reasons and one of the something that the company as such insists a lot and does not dilute any of those requirements from our vendors as well. The same thing I would say, I think it is being extended to my other side of the supply chain as well. As a goal for the company, in 2025, we have said that all the company operated vehicles will either be e-vehicles or CNG vehicles to bring out the sustainability from the supply end and to the distribution end as well. So it is not just the company that works. It works with multiple agencies to bring people on board to achieve these objectives. So on that front, the collaboration with the other businesses is imperative.
All right, sir, for you.
Okay, thank you. I will slightly digress because when we talk of corporate and community, I feel they are made for each other. So let us talk of, when we talk of community, when we try to set up an industry in one place, at that place, basically that place is trying to accept us, the corporate, to be a member of their society or their community. So the problem happens only when the boundary wall, inside the boundary wall and outside the boundary wall issue starts, when we think we are becoming obligatory, we are doing everything for them. That's not the issue. I personally feel first step is the community at large is the one which is surrounding the manufacturing setup or any kind of industrial setup. Then comes the next one in different phases. So the first step is to accept and be more sensitive towards the community for which we are setting up the industry, and we claim that we are doing this corporate social responsibility, etc., etc. See, the talk of corporate social responsibility is about 20, 30 years back, Tata's had started, the Rural Development Society. Now, corporate social responsibility has become a mandatory. That's why we are all talking too much about that. But I personally feel that we should understand one point, that we are walking into their space and try to set up the unit. So we are their family members, so we should understand their problems and try to do what is required. Instead of telling that if we do something as if we are doing some kind of, charity to them. That's not the right. So I always believe that corporate social responsibility should more become corporate moral responsibility towards the community, what you do. When we started Hyundai, I happened to be the first person. The first thing is we went and invited all the senior people from the village and thanked them for accepting us to be in their village, and then make them to understand what are we looking for. And many of these first activity we started on health sector is to give them cataract operation, to give them vision. And second was the youth which were loitering here and there in the village, we just channelize them, set up a training, and try to build those force to be our force. And that continued in Hyundai today. We are now quietly set up. Of course, I have retired. I am 70 plus, so I am now a retired person. But I feel the same way I started my company. Now we have about 15,000 people working in my company all over India. We do the activities from where we gain, and they are supporting us for us. So I strongly feel the community first, from where you get the resources and from where you get all the emotional supports, and they become your protector at the right time from external forces. So corporate and community are made for each other. They are interdependent of each other. It's not they should be dealt as some mandatory to do social responsibility. That I feel is a very, very, obviously for statutorily company law board, it may be taken, but for us, it should be morally extended arm to our own people. We say that. That's my call for this.
All right. My next question is to Mr. Kathivaran. Sir, you are part of an educational institution. Educational institutions create the leaders of tomorrow. And maybe 20 years ago, someone passing out of a university or a campus would not care much about, sustainability, because at that point in time, I think capitalism focused only on growth. But now everyone who is joining India's workforce, especially at the leadership level, they are supposed to know and understand, what's the importance of sustainability for a business. And as we have seen, companies are actually complaining that there are not enough green employees or employees who understand how to be sustainable. So as an educational institution, what kind of things have you incorporated so that you create the leaders of tomorrow?
Good evening. See, as far as SRM is concerned, we are given a thought about this sustainability a long back, around 20 years before, when we design our curriculum itself. We are brought in. For a very simple reason, there are three important things that in an education segment we work on. One is on knowledge, K. Second is one on skill, S. The third one is on the resource, R. Now, what these three components is meant for? When we design a curriculum, we know that we are giving back to the society. The boy who is completing in our institution is going back to the society, and in fact, SRM being the top #1 university, and in fact, we are contributing large number of higher education graduates to the society. So we are very cautious about the sustainability in our curriculum. So to incorporate this skill, if we come to the final one, the one resource is on our faculty member, the second resource on the industry side, and third one is on the society. So these three component, what we triangulate it, and when we design a curriculum, from the second year, we introduce about the environmental engineering. And when we teach an environmental engineering, that is not enough, and ultimately the boy have to come with a more of ethics. So we teach them ethics. And for the 4 years of curriculum, from the first year onwards, we try to put the student in along with the society, in the sense that blend with the society in such a way that the boy is able to come with a lifelong learning skill. That skill we incorporate into the system. Once the student acquire this skill, when we go back to the society, and ultimately whatever it is need in the society, how to make it sustainable, how the sustainability is very important for this world to move. This skill, since we have incorporated him a self-learning skill, and ultimately the boy is able to pick up on his own, and he is sustaining. As far as the sustainability with respect to the industry and other things are concerned, sir, ultimately we are working very closely, and I was very attracted by the word of the power of collaboration. The power of collaboration is one in such a way that in those days, people used to, even including Hyundai, they used to tell us that there is a gap between the academia and the industry. When the student is coming out of the education institutions, they are not fulfilling our skill, and ultimately we have to spend large amount of money and time to train them to cope up with our standards. This was the repeated complaint we were questioned some years before. But today, when the student, even in the third year, when they come for, even the companies visit, and when they pick up, in fact, the boy is able to get into the standards of the university, even well before the training, for a very simple reason. The institutions like SRM, well fostered with the lateral thinking, and we brought all this kind of in the learning process itself. We don't go teach and take it back. No, it is there in the system, it is there in the process, and because of this process building, the learning that we are giving to the student, making him to be more immune to the societal needs, and continue the whatever may be the sustainability, either in the environment, either in his life, or either in his business, whatever it may be. And ultimately, that skill is get carried out.
All right. My next question is to Ms. Sanju. Ma'am, you are in the business of, advising how to be energy efficient. Can you give, and you're a sustainability officer for your company, what examples have you experienced over the last few years, especially when this sustainability talk has picked up in the country? Like, how your solutions incorporate, taking care of a business profitability, I mean, taking into account a business capacity to be profitable and its responsibility towards the community?
Hello, everyone. So, as you rightly said, I represent a company called Danfoss. And Danfoss has its origins from the country Denmark. And if you actually see, Denmark is one of the first countries in the world which aims to be carbon neutral. So the country of Denmark came out with an ambitious target to be carbon neutral by 2030. And the so-called village from where the company Danfoss has originated, the city is called Sonneborg. So Sonneborg came out and then said, if my country is going to be carbon neutral by 2030, I will aim to be carbon neutral by 2029. And right there, all the individuals, the academia, the corporate, the government, as well as everybody came together for an ambition called Project Zero, which is to become zero carbon and carbon neutral by 2029. And the happy thing to share is, as on 2023 itself, Sonneborg is hailed as the energy efficiency capital of the world, and it is already above 75% carbon neutral. So given this background, a company like Danfoss, for us, it was but natural to have an ambitious target to be sustainable in everything that we do, the way we walk the talk, as well as how we are translating it to the community and the nation. And we took on an ambitious target to be carbon neutral by 2030. And happy to share, we already became carbon neutral in our headquarters in Denmark as on December 2022. And our campus in Chennai is above 90% carbon neutral. And this was possible. How we have been walking the talk is using 3 major mantras to help us achieve our carbon neutrality target, our climate target. The first one being decarbonization. The second is circularity, and the third one is diversity and inclusion. So from a decarbonization point of view, what we are doing to help our customers as well as what we walk the talk is to follow something called reduce, reuse, and resource. So we reduce our energy consumption as we are ramping up our production as well as our goals. The second part of it is reuse. We work towards waste recovery, sector integration, etc. to help us in our reuse aspect of it. The third is resource, where it is not possible to have 100% green sources of energy, resource it through power purchase agreements, etc. So this has actually been helping us in both our campuses, and this is how we have been helping many of our customers as well. The second part of it is circularity. We have taken an ambitious target that all new products developed by Danfoss will have a circularity quotient embedded in it by 2030. And the existing products will also have a circularity quotient. So we have some refurbished production lines which take on some of our products at the end of its life cycle, refurbish it and give it back to the customer with the same Danfoss quality guarantee. Last but not the least, diversity and inclusion. This is a very important area which we work on. Right now, as we speak, most of us are talking about women's empowerment and many other things. The moment we say diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's mostly two genders which come up. But as we are speaking, currently across the world, if we actually ask how many gender identities are there, a quick question if we kind of ask, the answer is that there are 163 gender identities in the world and we are still counting. And we are still working on 1, 2, 3, the binaries and the quick non-binaries. To have these 163 gender identities, identify them and kind of be inclusive in our workplace as well as in our community. All these three are equally important. So given the same, we are using the same principle when it comes to our own campuses as well as our community. We work, just like Sir said, through our CSR and sustainability initiatives. We work with multiple industry sectors, industry bodies. We also work through our CSR on areas like education, sustainable livelihood through skill development, health, environment, etc., to kind of translate our subject matter expertise to help other people in this journey. And last but not the least, how we are helping on the scope 3 emissions, how we work with our suppliers as well as our service providers to bring them up to speed on sustainability, ESG and related topics and help them in their decarbonization journey. So these are some of the quick things which we are doing. Can add on more examples later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'll just come back from that side only, Mr. Kathivaran. As Ms. Anju just mentioned that, we are still counting the kind of genders that exist, and we are just, maybe recognize at the larger level just 2 or 3. At your educational institute, do you see that some sort of a resistance from students or the future leaders who come, because we all grow up in a particular environment, and it's because this whole idea of sustainability, and which is bringing in a lot of things, like recognizing new things in the world, certain things which have been in practice, they need to be shunned and new cultures need to be adopted. How do you incorporate a culture of rejecting what is not required and accepting something that may not be acceptable to us today, which challenges the norms of our own upbringing, but being open for the sake of our society and planet?
See, the biggest challenge that what an education system, what we face today is on the one thing we would like to go for a big diversity of student from various segment of student are joining us. Socio-economically different student with a different level, then different part of the country. In fact, there is a cultural difference between south and the north and the northeast, and we receive students from foreign nations, and many NRIs are there. Now the challenge is that when we try to incorporate this kind of sustainability, this kind of social consciousness, awareness, the societal issues, the economical difference, and this thing. As you mentioned that the mindset of certain student, it is there in the sense that they are not in a position to accept or adapt to the environment what we try to provide. In Tamil Nadu, especially the university like SRM, where the huge diversity of students were there, and this problem we identified. Now how we solve this? We simply made them to connect with the society. One thing is that the institute is encouraging the student to take part in all kind of social initiatives, starting from a simple cleaning process on a beach, cleaning a pond, adapting a village, staying there for 10 days, understanding the problem that is prevailing there, and making them to undergo the process of the society, how exactly the society is. In fact, if you see, if you just walk away from our university, some 2 to 3 kilometers away, they see a very different world. What we experience in Chennai is not, there in Chengalpattu or in Madurai. Now, the moment the student go there, many students ask, is it like this? Is the student, if the agriculture land is like this? Is this the irrigation system is like this? Is the water is really a problem? Is the sanitary conditions is a problem? Now, this kind of connect with the society, we give as I was telling you about the lifelong learning as a skill, we try to connect them with the society. We try to put them with the industry experts. We try to give some real-time projects when they do in the engineering or the mini project, whatever it may be. Because of this, today, if you see, my university is publishing lot of research papers, especially students community, on the sustainable development, on agriculture needs, and a lot of innovative projects are coming out. In fact, one odd thing which we observed in our university is that the student who come from a native village do not understand the problem, whereas a student who come from some other place, from a well urbanized one, he understands the problem and give a better solution. This kind of blending and mixing of making the student to blend with the society is helping us, and we are also very happy that we are do some kind of development, and so that we can make a sustainable development on human as a whole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kathivaran. Mr. Gautam, coming to you, you come from the hardcore manufacturing sector, and as we are discussing that, lack of understanding is an issue, and you deal with scope 3 emissions, because, most of your suppliers would be, those small time manufacturers who are supplying products to you. And of course, when you would be requesting them or asking them to share data or to be sustainable, there would be some sort of a resistance that would be coming from there, because they do not have the resources to be sustainable, and that's where the challenge lies. That's where the collaboration is required, because these are smaller communities without any kind of resources. As a company, how do you meet that challenge, and what kind of processes have you set up where you can explain it to your suppliers that that unless and until they become sustainable, it would be very difficult to do business in future?
It is true. To answer your question very shortly, yes, there is immense resistance as far as any change goes, and that is true also for sustainability. Primarily because it is viewed as an expense rather than in a mid to long term what it will gain back to you eventually. Now, to put this one forward to across, it is going to take some time. It is also a lot of other things also have to come together. For example, the communication has to be good. They have to be convinced that or demonstrated that this is doable. I'm not going to go into my vendors or my other partners to whom I work with to convince them. I'm going to tell you a very small story of what happened within my own company as to how this inclusivity was termed or viewed as an regressive measure for a plant operations, but then how the views change, or rather how the view has changed now. 2 or 3 years back, what we did was, as a part of our inclusivity measure, we wanted to onboard differently abled people, more specifically blind people. Now, blind people in a manufacturing institution, in a plant operations, now that is not going to be very easily welcomed by my own plant people. But we took it as a challenge. We worked with them. We were able to identify where they were lacking and how to integrate them into the production lines, and created systems to train them to our production lines. and they were eventually incorporated into the workforce. And this has really made a difference not only to the company, to them as well. Now what the company has given to them is an more dignified life, and what I get in return is a more quality and a more inclusive work environment. Now this has proved to be very successful as a company for Featherlight. And now it has been so successful that a week back we had a second batch being inducted into the production line. Now these are being communicated to the other vendors and other partners as to how these initiatives, rather than viewing it as an expense or rather an unnecessary expense, is going to give them more in the mid to long term. But as you said, if I have to put it bluntly, there is an apprehension, or there is a resistance to accept these things. But then it is within the companies and the nature of it to resist those and then keep doing it because that is the right thing to do. And secondly, that is actually not an expense. That is actually gaining us better rewards in return.
Mr. Ramesh, as Mr. Gautam just mentioned that, that there is resistance, and resistance comes because of lack of resources, and because you have worked with bigger companies. I just want to understand from you, what is the thought process at large companies compared to mid-sector and small-scale companies when it comes to sustainability and spending money to be a sustainable company? Because we have seen across the world that it's larger companies that actually indulge in greenwashing. So, because when it comes to spending money on something which may, make our future better, everyone is a miser. Nobody wants to spend money. So tell me from your experience and your understanding of larger corporations, that what is the attitude at larger companies, and what are the challenges those larger companies face?
Good question, a difficult question actually. Well, all the larger companies or corporates, they are looking for something where, I'll put it slightly in a rebellious manner for you to understand, they would not like to be branded badly in the society. So they would like to do certain acts in which they get a good brand. And that branding part, nowadays the social commitment, like we talk of customer-centric, but we have to become a community-centric. Community at large, not only the next door. So all the organizations have now matured enough, graduated enough from the level of cost saving to ROI, return on investment of any activity, wherein these kind of, all these activities of energy saving or any development of any kind of areas or social development, economic development, where they always look forward how much they can contribute, but the bottom line always remains ROI, because businessman is a businessman. Whatever we talk, well, vision, mission, philosophy is all fine. That is always there in books and talks. But when we talk on the table, we want to see, when I am putting in money, if I put to energy saving, how much cost I save, like carbon, what she said, or anywhere. But today, awareness has come. The awareness has come not only to corporate, to the community also. Community has also started expecting, I will not put demanding, but at the same time, they think that you have to do it because you are here. You got my point. So it is something, it's a two-way process now it has become. So all the organizations, whether the smaller or bigger, they have started thinking, and many have started implementing many good projects. There are many good projects in India, whether it's a social, economic, or energy saving, or any other aspects. But today, that maturity level, since I am an old man, so I can take the liberty of talking all this, the maturity level is slowly growing up, but it's taken time. When we start something, we should have a conviction, commitment to perform and to create an environment of inclusive growth or cohesiveness, collaborativeness, All these things can be spoken when there is a move of that culture. Top to down has to think, breathe on those lines, then things can happen. So I feel now corporates have started, and all of them have become serious on these lines now. They are working forward for all these things, but still miles to go, you know, still miles to go for that. We are still like, he is also telling initially, see, now after retirement, I started my group, LIAM group. We are in not only resource manpower, we do strategic outsourcing. I have 15,000 people in my company's role. Out of that, 40 to 50% is female population. We are giving to Apple and other different places this thing. Now people have started. Now why they are talking about female population? Because of their dexterity, nature of job, their patience, because that is required compared to the male population. So now people have started thinking the ergonomics, the attitude, the style, and what is useful for them is more important today, you know. So that's why when we are talking inclusive growth, now we are giving opportunity to them. These people, this resource very much were there in the country, we never bothered. Now we have taken a realization that if we give the inclusive growth, the other part, the female population is much better than male population in some of the jobs where precision is taken. So it's a industry-based, nature-based, activity-based. It is being designed and defined in all the parameters. So to summarize, I can say that I will not call there is any resistance from corporate today. They are exploring how best they can be useful to be consistent and sustainability model in the society.
Yeah, so very interesting thing told by Mr. Ramesh. Sustainability needs to also make sense to companies. As he said that a lot of companies are now wanting to employ females because, you know, in certain segments of manufacturing as well as businesses, other types of businesses, be it services, females are considered to be better workers. I'll give you an example. Recently, I had gone to Bengaluru at Ola factory, where Ola founder Bhavesh Agrawal told me that all of his employees at the Ola factory are female. There are about 5,000 employees. So I was surprised that, you know, how can a company have 100% of its employees as female? He said that it was by design. While he did not focus so much on, you know, whether female workers are better than male workers, but he said that because India's female participation in the workforce is low, that ratio is very low, he wanted to do something, and that was an eye-opener for me. With this thing, with this knowledge, I would just like to conclude this lovely panel, and I would like to thank you all for being here and just giving us a patient hearing. Hope this panel discussion was of interest to you, and it added to your understanding of the issue of sustainability. Thank you very much.